News Shopper 4 over another pursuit. Eliana Moreno, what do we know about this one here?
A busy day for pursuits, Annabelle. This one is currently eastbound on the 10 freeway coming up to the 605. And this is now the California Highway Patrol that is in pursuit of a stolen car. This actually started, though, with Temple City Sheriffs. And the vehicle itself looks to be a Kia, perhaps, silver in color. And I do see what looks to be some black flames there on either side of the vehicle. The driver window is down on this one, so perhaps we'll get a chance to look inside and see who is behind the wheel and how many people are inside. But it's only been going on now for a few minutes, only on the 10 freeway here, eastbound the entire time. You can see, though, that he's driving pretty recklessly here, using the emergency lane center divider to get by, currently in that HOV lane. And look at what he's doing here as he comes up to some slower moving traffic, barely missing hitting some of these vehicles as he comes up to this bus. So again, started with Temple City Sheriffs, California Highway Patrol now in pursuit.
And once again, this is a want for a stolen vehicle. Any idea if it's a single driver or are there passengers in there as well?
At this point, it's unknown, Colleen, and at this point, we believe that it's a male driver, but I haven't visually confirmed it yet. I think we'll have an opportunity, though, considering the window is down. But you can see that he's driving in the center divider here, kicking up a lot of debris. And this always really bothers me because if you had broken down, that's exactly where you would be, stranded on the highway, and then this guy comes right at you at freeway speeds. So it can be very dangerous, and you can see that there's a lot of traffic headed eastbound, which is why he's in that center lane, just to try to get by some of these slower moving cars, as he is now entering West Covina here, eastbound on the 10 freeway, east of the 605.
Eliana, do we know if any officers are behind, any units are behind this vehicle?
Yeah, there were units behind him, Annabelle, when we first got overhead. I saw what looked to be about 3 or 4 cars, and he just ran over a tire there. And so I did see those units right when we got overhead. Right now, I'm not seeing any units directly behind him, and I think they're just trying to give him a little bit of space. I still hear the airship giving the instructions on this one, on where this individual is currently located. It's just difficult for the officers, though, to trail him when he's driving this recklessly. The regular patrol units can't really be zigzagging in and out of traffic in these dangerous ways, the way that this driver is. So for now, it looks like it's going to be helicopter only directly on him, but there are some units at least within half a mile of where this individual is currently located here, eastbound on the 10 freeway in West Covina.
We've watched a lot of pursuits, but I don't know that I remember seeing driving like this, where he'll move back and forth over 3 lanes, cutting off some of these large trucks here. It is, again, we used the term with the other chase just about 5-10 minutes ago. He is desperate to get out of there.
Yeah, very dangerous, Colleen, and continuing at roughly freeway speeds, but when he can't do that, that's when he gets in this center lane and really picks it up. Right now, we're talking about 75 miles an hour or so or greater, whereas the rest of the vehicles here are probably traveling about 25 miles an hour or so because of the heavy traffic at this time of the afternoon. Usually, we do see those heavier drives headed eastbound and southbound as people leave the LA area and head home. And so if he continues eastbound, he's going to continue to encounter a lot of traffic as we make our way up to the Kellogg Hill. But for now, continuing eastbound here on the 10, there's the LA County Sheriff's airship that is continuing to call this pursuit. So there's no way this driver doesn't think that he is being pursued. He can see that airship right out his window as the Sheriff's Department continues to follow him here eastbound on the 10 freeway. Again, it's coming back as a stolen car, what looks to be a Kia to me, with that intricate design there on either side of the car. So if you're going to steal a car, it's tough to believe that he would have stolen one that would be that easy to find with that special little emblem there on the side, but that's exactly what happened. Under what circumstances, that's unknown. Was this just a crime of opportunity where the suspect jumped in the car because the keys were left inside, or was this some sort of armed carjacking? That at this point is unknown to us.
Eliana, what do we have up ahead as far as like options for this driver?
His next option, Annabelle, is going to be the 57 freeway as we approach the Kellogg Hill. So that'll give him the option to go either north or south on the 57, or of course he can continue eastbound on the 10. Of course, there's plenty of exits between here and there where he can exit onto surface streets. But as far as we know, this chase has never been on surface streets. It's just been on the eastbound 10 freeway. So it seems like he's very comfortable on this particular freeway. So my gut feeling is he's going to stay eastbound on the 10, but we'll see what he does here as he starts to make the climb up into the Kellogg Hill. There's a little bit of an elevation climb here as you have to climb up into the Kellogg Hill area and make your way over to the 57 freeway.
You know, just want to point out, one of the issues with tracking a stolen car like this is the fact they don't know who's behind the wheel. So when and if the patrol cars roll up on this, you know, it becomes a very frightening situation for them. They don't know if you've got an armed driver behind the wheel. At least if it's a different infraction, they can run the plates. Sometimes they're able to contact that person behind the wheel. But this case is a very difficult one for law enforcement.
And you mentioned the desperation, right? So when you add that component to it, you don't know whose life you're putting at risk here. And we are seeing that traffic, of course, Eliana.
Yeah, and one thing that they can do is just continue to track him from above the way they are, and hopefully the driver will think that he's no longer being pursued and will simply pull over, and that'll be the end to it. The other thing that law enforcement can do, and we've seen them do a lot recently, is just simply let this one go. Because this is a property crime and not a violent crime like some sort of assault or a homicide, they could just let the driver go because they really have to weigh what is in the best interest of the general public, what is going to keep people safe, and if continuing to chase this driver is no longer in the interest of the general public, then they could just simply let the driver go, and hopefully they'll be able to get him at some other point in time. But for now, they are comfortable continuing to following him here from the helicopter only. I do hear the airship trying to get some units behind this guy again if possible, but it sounds like they're going to wait for some CHP units to get into the area, and perhaps they'll be able to get behind the car. So for now, it's just the LA County Sheriff's airship overhead, the green one that you saw earlier, that is continuing to follow him here in the carpool lane, eastbound on the 10 freeway, about to approach the 57.
And now he's just reached a speed of over 100 miles an hour. I'm looking at this. I almost feel like I'm watching a movie. The way he's driving, he zips over a couple of lanes and he's back in, weaving back and forth, and sometimes almost for no apparent reason.
Yeah, absolutely. There's really no rhyme or reason to his maneuvers here a lot of the time. I can understand when he's stuck in traffic and he's just trying to get away from some of the slower moving cars, but there's been times when he's just weaving in and out for no apparent reason as he comes up to the Fairplex exit now here under the freeway. So we should see him pop out the other side here. There he is.
And we're seeing a lot more traffic here.
Yeah, a lot more traffic here. This is the merge with the 57 and the 60, so it's always really busy. And in this case, obviously, you can see that it's no different than what we're used to seeing here at this interchange. I am hearing the dispatcher here that's talking to the units, and it sounds like the watch commander has said that the airship can stay over the chase and continue to track it, but no ground units are allowed to chase him at this point. Those are the Temple City Sheriff's units. Once we get into an area where CHP would like to take over it, then that's going to be a completely different situation. Their watch commander may allow them to stay behind the car. But for now, no units behind this guy, which really gives the motorists here no warning that this guy is going to be coming at you at 75 miles an hour plus here eastbound on the 10.
You know, so we see him on, weaving in and out of traffic there, but we also have been seeing this driver on the shoulder there. We know that oftentimes when we see these pursuits, they end up getting a flat tire because of all of the debris that's there.
Yeah, absolutely. And if that's what brings things to an end, that would be great, because this driver is continuing to drive very recklessly, of course. And it does look like there's now a unit on a motor that is behind him. So we do now have a motorcycle officer that is behind him. I'm kind of keeping the shot a little bit wider so that you can see him here. He's not right on his tail, but he is close. So maybe about an eighth of a mile away or so. So that's really smart when you think about it. One thing I was saying before is it's difficult for the patrol units to keep track of this guy the way that he's driving, but with a motor, the motor's going to be able to zigzag through traffic even better than the suspect vehicle is going to be able to do so. So for now, we do have that motor officer behind him here on the right, or on the center divider here, and again, the sheriff's airship overhead. But we are getting word that once some San Bernardino units of the California Highway Patrol can get in position, if it goes that far, then perhaps then we will see units of the CHP behind him.
Is that speedometer accurate here? I see it go from 60 or 70 all the way up to over 100. He's doing 95, high 90s right now. It's hard to tell when you're focused in on the car if he is in fact going that fast.
Yeah, it can be a little inaccurate sometimes if I'm not super tight on the car, but like right now that I've got him zoomed in right there in the center, that's pretty accurate, about 30 miles an hour or so. But of course, that's because he was just in a little bit of traffic. So we'll see what it pops up to once he gets going again. But he definitely has gone over 100 miles an hour at times, and that unit right behind him, trying to get him to pull over. I don't think he's going to listen to that.
I don't think he's listening
he hasn't listened
either.
to any units thus far.
Yeah, so what's the game plan here, Eliana? I mean, we have one motor cop behind him. What options are available to this officer?
Well, at this point, the motor officer, he can't really do much other than track him. Of course, he can't do anything like a pit maneuver, not going to be able to do spike strips or anything of that nature. So all he can really do at this point is kind of just keep tabs on him and stay behind him and try to encourage him to pull over that way with his lights and sirens. But at this point, of course, it doesn't seem to be working. It looks like he may be trying to exit here or perhaps just take the right shoulder. So we'll see what he does here as he continues eastbound on the 10 freeway. But nope, he's just going to move back into regular lanes there now, using every single lane of the freeway to try to get by here as we continue eastbound on the 10 freeway coming into Montclair.
Oh, give us an idea of the next exit coming up here. I'm trying to place this in my mind on the 10 freeway.
Yeah, it's going to be Indian Hill. So Indian Hill, as we're coming, we've got Claremont just to our north. We've got Montclair just coming up to our east. Beyond that, we're talking about areas like Ontario, Ontario Airport, of course. And then the next freeway is going to be the 15. That, of course, takes, if we go north, it'll take us into Vegas. If we go south, it could take us down into San Diego. So this guy has a lot of options in terms of the freeways that are coming up. And clearly, he's very comfortable on the freeway. So what freeway we are going to end up on is, your guess is as good as mine. But for now, it looks like he's pretty comfortable staying on this eastbound 10 freeway, despite the fact that there is that officer right on his tail.
Yeah, has lots of options, but, does he have enough gas there in that vehicle?
Yeah, exactly. We don't really know how long this pursuit has been going on. As far as we've heard, it's only been about 30 minutes at most, but who knows when was the last time that he fueled up that little car, if he's fueled it up. We don't know when it was taken, under what circumstances, and when. So that is always a possibility that he could simply run out of fuel, and that is what brings things to an end. We've seen that happen time and time again. We just hope that it doesn't end up in a vehicle collision to bring things to an end.
I'm sorry for the sound effects here, but
we like the sound effects,
he was squeezing by that car, and it did not look like it was going to alive and well. I just want to point out, Ileana and Annabelle, and to our viewers as well, this is a stolen vehicle pursuit, according to Temple City Sheriff's Department there. LASD says they believe there is one person in the car, and the CHP will be taking over soon, although we have seen a motorcycle officer who appears to be a CHP officer, although he seems to have dropped back a little bit. Of course, the car is now doing over 110 miles an hour. It might be hard to keep up on a motorcycle safely.
Yeah, but he's keeping up with him
there,
Colleen.
he
But
just
as you
popped into
said,
view.
yeah, they're not really safe speeds. That's for sure. The most that motorcycle could possibly go is 140, and that would really be pushing it and extremely dangerous. I can't imagine that his department would even allow that. But for now, he's keeping up with him here about 120 miles an hour. That is really fast. I mean, that's
I can't
almost
believe
as fast
the
as we
freeway.
can go.
Yeah, is this wide open here?
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible that at this point he's able to pick up these speeds. But again, he's not even in a regular lane. He's kind of using that center divider to get by. He's back in a regular lane now. But we're coming up to Ontario Airport's airspace, so there's a chance they might shoo us away for a bit. But for now, I'll kind of keep the best shot that I can here as we come through their airspace. But continuing on the eastbound 10 freeway, again, one person in the vehicle believed to be a stolen car. It looks like a Kia to me. And again, it's got that signature emblem there on either side of the car. I don't know if that's a business logo perhaps, or just something that the owner had added themselves to the car. I also see a very small Dodgers logo above the passenger side front wheel as well. So a very identifiable vehicle. If officers were to, for whatever reason, lose sight of him, I have a strong feeling they would quickly be able to relocate him, considering the way that this vehicle looks. But for now, continuing eastbound here, 10 freeway coming up to Ontario Airport.
Yeah, so for anybody who's just joining us, we've been over this pursuit for 17, 18 minutes now. We picked this up around 5:28, getting reports of a stolen vehicle. Started in the San Gabriel Valley, Eliana.
Yeah, it started in Temple City area with the Sheriff's Department there. And then eventually they asked for the CHP to take over, and that's exactly what happened. So that's who we see here now. This unit that you see there is, in fact, the California Highway Patrol. So it makes a lot of sense for them to be behind it, because they are the police of our freeway systems here. So they're going to be best equipped to follow a chase on the freeway, as these units feel the need to drop out for whatever reason. Different units from the California Highway Patrol can get in there, and I think he just lost a tire. I just saw a tire go rolling. I think it might have been the passenger side tire. I'm going to push in here. I think that might have been it, but I definitely saw a tire go flying. What side of the vehicle it came from, difficult to tell, but perhaps that is what is going to bring things to an end.
You know, a couple of minutes ago, I thought I noticed smoke coming from under the car, and I thought, you know, they haven't thrown out a spike strip.
He's slowing down, George.
Yeah, has slowed down considerably, and you've got the CHP officer on the motorcycle and in the black and white as well. What is he in? Is this the carpool area here, the fast track lane?
Yeah, this is the fast track lanes here on the 10 freeway, and you can see that there's a unit of the CHP that's in the regular side of the freeway. They're going to try to kind of slow down traffic a little bit in case this were to come to an end. Officers, of course, are going to have to approach this with their guns drawn, and they just want to make sure that there's nobody else in the equation. And the driver has slowed down significantly thanks to that tire that went flying. And I'm going to ask my pilot, George, if we could slow down just a bit. The pursuit's behind us, and I'm getting some skid here. But as we come around here, we're going to see the vehicle yet again. It looks like he's going to try to get out of those carpool lanes and get back into the regular lanes of traffic with, again, what looks to be one patrol unit behind him and, of course, a motorcycle unit here as well.
You know, it's always so remarkable to see that even though there's a blown tire here, they continue the pursuit. Nothing stops them sometimes.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible sometimes the luck that these guys have. And pardon the shot here, we're getting a little bit of exhaust here, but I'm going to ask my pilot, George, if he can kind of turn around a little bit just because I'm shooting behind us. But if you can kind of see him there in the center of the shot. And I'm going to push in here so we can get a little slightly tighter shot. You'll have to pardon our positioning here with the airspace issue that we're dealing with here with Ontario Airport. Kind of the best we can do right now, but you see now 2 units here of the CHP behind him. You've got that motor officer, and maybe this guy's going to pull over to the right. He is starting to make his way over to the right. Again, we saw him lose a tire, so that he can't really go much longer in that little car. Again, a possible stolen car, what looks to be a silver Kia. Maybe things are going to come to an end.
A lot of people might be looking at this thinking this would be a perfect time to maybe pit this car and slow it down or box it in or something, but that would be very problematic because they don't know who's driving this car, right, Eliana?
Exactly. They don't know who's driving, and the problem is we don't know under what circumstances this was taken. The CHP may have more information on that. Was this some sort of armed carjacking where a weapon was used to get the vehicle? That's always a possibility. So they know whether that is in fact the case or not, or if this was simply a crime of opportunity where the owner of the vehicle left the keys in perhaps just for a second and somebody jumped in and took it. And the other reason why they won't do a pit maneuver through this area is that there's just too many cars. If the CHP were to attempt a pit maneuver at this juncture, they could potentially have other people be injured. So they aren't going to try that. And again, pardon the shot here as we are trying to maneuver here through Ontario. I'm going to ask my pilot, George, if he can just turn around for just a bit so I can see the pursuit there behind us. And he's right at the interchange here with the 15 freeway, so 10 in the 15, and you see him there right in the center lane, so CHP still in pursuit.
Remarkable control for a car that's got a blown tire, we think, and he slowed way down. He really seems to have control of this car. And you look, you see what appears to be this truck has moved in front, almost deliberately slowing him down. Except now he's moving out of the way.
Right, but sometimes
he's realized
you see these
what's going on.
Cars, right, that do come in out of nowhere, and then you realize it's an unmarked vehicle, and that does tend to happen there.
Yeah, and I'm now seeing 3 units of the CHP behind him, as well as that motor unit. We're going to get a little glare of the sun here with this particular shot. But if you just look right in the center of the shot, that is the suspect's car. You've got the motor units at the tail end of it all. And behind him is where we've got that 3rd CHP unit. But 2 units right on his tail. And again, they're not going to try a pit maneuver at this point. If by any chance we got to a section of the freeway where there was nobody else around, then perhaps they could try it at that point. But for now, they feel pretty comfortable just continuing to follow this guy. Could they try spike strips? Absolutely, especially since he's been on the same freeway this entire time. It's pretty easy to know that he's likely going to be on the eastbound 10 freeway, and they can try to set some spike strips up ahead.
Is he really going 60, 70 miles an hour on 3 tires?
I believe he's going just slightly slower than that, Colleen, but he's starting to pick up speed now. And again, we do believe he lost the front passenger side tire. We did see a tire go flying, and so surprisingly, he's still able to drive relatively well, all things considered, on the 3 tires that he has left. And again, a smaller car. Earlier, I believe his window was down. It might still be down there. I just can't really see anyone inside, and haven't really had a good chance to take a look at that logo on the side, but definitely silver Kia is what the CHP is in pursuit of.
All right, and Eliana, this driver is still on the 10 freeway, right? Past the 15.
Yes, we're currently in Fontana. This is eastbound 10 freeway coming up to Etiwanda. So now we're beyond the 15 freeway here, past Ontario Airport, for those of you who are familiar with that. And at this point, there's really no other freeway option for him until we get to the 215. So he's pretty much committed here to the 10 freeway unless he exits sooner than that.
And just looking at the traffic, if you look up ahead, You know, this part of the 10 freeway is always very busy, regardless of the time of day. He's going to run into this situation for miles and miles ahead.
Yeah, and we're seeing, you know, you're seeing that this part of the freeway is very busy. We're seeing a lot more semi-trucks out there as well. So aside from all of the cars, a lot of trucks as well too. So Eliana mentioned that it's approaching the 215.
I just want to point out, I saw a Caltrans sign, what appeared to be construction. Are you seeing any of that ahead, Eliana, as well? Caltrans workers maybe out there?
I haven't seen any in the immediate area, Colleen, but this area does typically have a lot of construction, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a little something up ahead. But for now, I'm also seeing just a lot of traffic here through the Fontana area. A lot of people work in LA, but they live out in the IE, so that's the commute that you're seeing here, all these eastbound and southbound drives. But this entire time, he's only been on the eastbound 10 freeway, so perhaps this is an area that is very familiar to him, and this is where he feels comfortable, and it's the freeway he wants to stay on. That's what we typically see when it comes to police pursuits. Drivers tend to stay in an area that they are familiar with, and it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. That way they won't drive into a dead end. They know where the parking structures are. They know they can perhaps flee to their house, flee to a friend's house, so it does give them some more options. But there are some of those cones there, Colleen, that you were talking about here eastbound on the 10 freeway.
And you know, when we look at this and we see the CHP behind them there, when you think about it, time is on their side, the CHP.
Oh, absolutely. There's only one suspect vehicle, and there's plenty of patrol units here from the CHP that can actually swap out with this lead unit if anything happens to that patrol vehicle, or if we enter other jurisdictions of the California Highway Patrol. So as we continue here eastbound on the 10 freeway, different parts or different divisions of the CHP are able to jump in and take over for that portion of the pursuit. But you see this CHP officer really not giving this driver much in the way of room, really staying on his tail. And with only 3 good tires, I think it's only a matter of time before this comes to an end.
You know, so let's talk about those options, Eliana. We talked about a pit maneuver isn't quite feasible right here.
Say that again for me, Annabelle.
The options that officers have at this point, and we mentioned that a pit maneuver wasn't quite an option here for them.
Yeah, pit maneuver wasn't really an option because there was just too many cars on the roadway, Annabelle. So they just couldn't try that and potentially hurt somebody else in the process. Spike strips, definitely a possibility, especially considering that he's been on the same freeway the entire time. But I think maybe the vehicle itself is going to be the reason why this comes to an end sooner than later. I think perhaps he might have run out of gas, or perhaps just the little car can't go anymore. It's down to 3 tires and pulling over to the right here. I think this is it. So driver door opening. Let's see what happens here. Is the driver going to comply? Yep, sure enough. I'm going to ask my pilot, George, if we can turn around. He's going to take us back to the car here. So pardon the shot here for just a second as we get a touch of exhaust here. But you can see the driver here complying with the California Highway Patrol. He's showing them his waistband, which is what they want to see. They want to make sure that there's no weapon on him or anything that could potentially harm any of these officers. So when they feel comfortable, that's when they will either approach him if he's already down on the ground, or they'll have him walk backward toward them, and then they'll be able to handcuff him and take him into custody. The objective here is just to try to get him as far away from that vehicle as possible so that he's not able to jump back in and take off. And then when these officers have this individual in custody, then they'll also approach the vehicle and make sure that nobody else is inside.
And of course, the officer in the helmet is the one, he's the motorcycle officer who's been giving the instructions here, and he's about to check him for weapons and cuff him.
Yeah, so he's in
what
the
is the
process
exit
of doing
here?
that right now.
Or is he actually on the freeway, or are we on a ramp here? It was hard to tell.
Yeah, this is actually on the freeway, Colleen. So what an inconvenience to all of the other drivers here on the road. The eastbound commute on the 10 freeway is always absolutely horrible. And today it's going to get even worse here. This is going to be near Citrus Avenue. Citrus Avenue near the 10 freeway. Hopefully this is just going to be a minor interruption here. They're going to clear the car and make sure nobody else is inside. They have to pop the trunk as well, which often takes a little bit of time for them to find the lever for that, but they have to make sure that nobody's hiding anywhere within the vehicle, that there's no kids inside, no dogs, and once they get the all clear, they'll be able to get the vehicle off of the freeway. There we go, checking the trunk real quick, nothing to be found, and that'll do it on this one. They're going to try to get the vehicle off as quickly as possible. This guy now in custody again. This started as a stolen vehicle pursuit out of Temple City, took us all the way eastbound here on the 10 freeway, past Fontana, almost into Bloomington, where this pursuit has come to an end.
And so now I'm assuming that a tow truck will be called in to remove that car from the 10 freeway there, Eliana.
Yeah, oftentimes what they'll do, Annabelle, is to try to just kind of speed things up. An officer can jump in and take the car off of the freeway, and then from that point, then a tow truck driver will be able to pick up the vehicle. But if they believe that this vehicle was used in some sort of other crime where the officers don't want to taint the investigation in any way, then they'll wait for the tow truck to remove it off of the freeway as well. But let me just quickly show you how quickly the backup is building here eastbound on the 10 freeway. As I said, already a horrible drive on any other day. Going to be a little bit worse today here, all the way to the 215.
10 freeway at Citrus. If you have friends and family on that freeway, you might want to call them and tell them to get off as soon as possible.